Hello folks, this is Phil here in Sutton, part of our Natural Skiers edition of sharing the pleasure of skiing. In today's edition, we're gonna go towards the ski boots that change the way we ski if you're enjoying climbing with skins and skiing down with enjoyment and precision and power. And today is gonna be an homage to the Tecnica Cochise, who changed the way I ski from the top to bottom or from the bottom to the top. Because back then, 10 years or so about, you would have the choice of getting a pure alpine touring boot that you would go 5 days from Chamonix, climbing 5 days up to Zermatt, or you would walk up with skins with your race boots on or your pure alpine boots on. And then came the Cochise. And I went like, this is interesting for us out east where we climb small hills like Sutton and Tremblant and Stoneham that you could climb up, and at the top you're not with a cross-country boot and try to go down the hill, alpine ski hill, with something else than what looked like a cross-country boot, and you end up at the bottom of the hill skiing like this and no enjoyment into the reward you get out of climbing up the mountain. You see my point? And I bought my own Tecnica Cochise because it fitted better my use and my needs. Now that was the first generation, and we went around the world with that boot. Then came a second generation, lighter, stronger, better. And now a third generation with a great walking mode, a powerful walking mode, many flexes. So in this show, we will go through what could be the revolution for the next generation of alpine touring and downhill skiing. All right, so that's what we have today on Natural Skiers.
Le plaisir de skier vous est gracieusement offert par Ski Town, la ville du ski.
One of the features and the improvement into the new Cochise generation is the walking mode. The old walking mode looked and felt a little bit weak, a little bit twinky. Now they put on the new Cochise the walking mode of the 0G that you used to have on the 0G, and they still have, but now we do have this strong system on the Cochise. And you can even, if you want, lock it in place to make sure that it will not unlock itself while you're skiing and jumping a cliff or going charging hard, and you don't want this to unlock and have the feeling that you don't have anything in your boot and go way back. So there's no danger absolutely for it to release when you don't want it to release, as it is locked if you decide to lock it. Now when you release it, the walking ability is fairly good, and in no time whatsoever I have the feeling that I don't have enough range in the boot when I'm actually walking up with my skins. Now, one of the things that you have to consider is when choosing your Cochise to make sure you choose the best flex when you go down the hill. So in the new line of a Cochise for men, you have a 130, which is the red-orange typical of the Mach 1 color. You have the 120, which is this one, and you have a 110. And then you get on the female side, you got a 120 called the Pro. Now, ladies, make sure that it is the proper flex for you, as the 120 will be a little bit stiffer than the 120 boots because of the strong walking mode at the back. The locking mechanism will make it a bit stiffer than a 120, okay? Then you have a 105, and then you have a 95. And then, oh good, they have a team made for teenagers that more and more are into touring, backcountry, side country, walking up with boots. The walking mode is a blast. Part of the improvement of the new generation of Cochise is the material that they decide to go back to for the plastic used in the molding of the shell. In the second generation, we used to have a lighter material that sadly was lighter but was a transmitter of vibration. So that when you would have skis as wide as my Rustler 10 and you would end up on an icy surface in the morning, it would be really hard on the knees and on the back. And those vibration is something that you absolutely don't want. So they went back to the same material that they use in their famous Mach 1. Furthermore, when you have a PU injected boot, you would have a more progressive flex because the PU is less either on or off. It is more progressive. So, you know, the old generation, you used to have nothing or everything. And in between, it was kind of hard to have a progressive flex in the boot so that different phase of your turn, you would have the proper angle. So you would have nothing and then everything. So on a icy surface and when you need to be progressive in your pressure, that was not as easy as it is now. Now with the PU injected boot, it is much smoother. When you crank it, it will go all the way and come back as if you were on a trampoline and you would squash it and the trampoline would reward you with a swing back from side to side. So that made a big difference, especially now that the boot is 15% in average from all the models, lighter than what it used to be. So we have the lightness of the previous one and the skiability, the quality of skiing of a regular alpine boot. So now the real question concerning the Cochise. Under the witch tree in Sutton, is the Cochise 3.0 good enough to carve and charge and have only one pair of boots if you have the kind of skis that you would expect on a Cochise, meaning a Rustler 10, Rustler 9, even Brahma? But when you have something that I consider the ski of the year for next year, if as far as on-piste ski is concerned, the Thunderbird wide body 15-meter radius, I mean, that's a pure carving ski. Now, that will be the best test that we can challenge the new Cochise, because if I'm using these skis, normally I would use a Mach 1 or a race boot. Now, let's just shut up and go skiing and see if I'm able to enjoy myself and switch direction as I wish in a very slushy condition. I should use Brahmas or something like that, but I'm gonna use a carving ski and go around the trees. Ha-ha! Yoo-hoo! And do a little bit of a slalom around the trees from edge to edge in very hard condition, corn snow. And there's one reason why the Cochise works so well. Tecnica has made the inside a lot more dense than the outside, so you get a light boot, but when you apply pressure on the inside of your ski, then you get the full power of almost a regular boot like a Mach 1. So again, today should be a drifting day, should be a soft corn day, but I'm able to do that and carve through the moguls and through the trees of Sutton, all right? Oh yeah. Yeah. Yay! Now, one other thing that we have to consider is because of the rear system, the walking mode in the back, that is now a lot more powerful than what it used to be in the first and second generation of the Cochise. You might feel that the boot will be a little bit stiffer. If you have a 130, it will be a bit stiffer than the old 130. So if you were comfortable and a light skier in the older 130, you might do as I did and go for the 120. Especially if you like moguls and glades and on-groomed terrain. If you're on soft powder in the open bowls, the 130 will work just wonder for a guy my weight, 180 pound, who have a raised boot 140. But when I'm trying to follow my daughter with 7-year-old in the glades and the moguls, I need a softer boot. So that to be taken in consideration when picking up the flex of your next boot. The same thing for women, the 120, 105, 95, you might have to talk to the guy in the shop to make sure you buy the best flex. And when it comes to flex, you have to think about a boot like a trampoline that you need to be able to go all the way to the bottom of the trampoline so you get the kick out of the boot. If it's too stiff, either you will have the feeling that your ski is too soft or that you don't get any energy out of your boot. So sometimes a softer boot will make you a better skier. You could bend your trampoline and get the kick out not only of the ski and the flex of the ski, but the kick of the boot on the way back up. All right? Up. Today is a special day in Sutton. It's almost the end of the year. Gotta be mindful of the rocks. Around the world, it is a hell of a challenge to make sure that your mold for a boot would fit as wide a crowd as possible. Actually, there should be one mold per person because nobody's got the same size of foot. Cochise and Tecnica, with the new Cochise, they changed the width of the boot to a 99 to provide more space for a bigger human being around the planet. It is a phenomena that people are growing and taller and bigger around the world. So now the last is 99, but that means it is a 99 for a size of 26.5. If you get a longer boot, each time you go up a notch, you will go wider from 1.5 to 2 millimeters. So if you have a 29.5 length, you would have a much wider boot that fits the proportion of your size. Last year we did a show with one of my friends, Isabelle Paradis, who recently had a big crash in Europe and broke her leg. And after 2 years of physiotherapy, she was back on the slope on an easy walk up in Saint-Adolphe-Tower. And after a few minutes of walking with her boots, we went like, "Oh, you don't look comfortable at all, Isabelle. What's your level, comfort level or your pain level, let's say, out of 10? And she was at 8 out of 10. So that would not fly for long. So one of the things that we looked at is how she would set up the pressure in her clips. And she was fully tight, like she was walking up in a type of setup that you would use for alpine skiing, even though she had the walking mode open, and it would create way too much pressure, especially in her case. She had a metal plate inside her leg to repair the bone. So you can see that you could, of course, do all the adjustment required for your setup to be really comfortable, but ideally you have this little clip outside here that when you're on a walking mode, you have less pressure using that little hook, and you create a little bit more range and less pressure on your tibia that you would need for walking. And when you go skiing, you put it back on ski mode at the back, and you can put as much pressure as you want in your clips. Now that I'm back into ski mode, my goal is actually to enjoy as much skiing as I can, to have my reward for all the effort that I put into my climb. So sometimes Tremblant could take 2 hours to go down the hill, as if I own the place, as if the national park or the provincial park is mine. So I will go down and stop, especially if I'm comfortable. Like today is the best day ever. These are my favorite ever day of skiing. Bluebird sky, wet snow, and a bit of fluoride, high fluoride paste under my skis, so I don't have the stick effect of, you know, when you go through a wet patch. So I'm able just to enjoy myself and enjoy my reward that provided my Cochise. Yeah. And especially in Sutton. Okay folks, here we are at the bottom of the hill after a nice reward of a nice ski rundown. What an enjoyment the Cochise can provide. What a lifestyle. What a way to have access to the mountain and live this life of skier. If you go to Rogers Pass all the way to the 4,000 meters, or you go climb up some small mountains like Avalanche or Belle Neige or here in Sutton, if you go kicking horse, side country, slack country, once you're at the top and you want to charge down the mountain, you'll be good to go with the new Cochise. So that's it for now. This is Phil for Natural Skiers. I say so long and enjoy as much as you can.
This is the race I've been due.
Le plaisir de skier vous est gracieusement offert par Ski Town, la ville du ski.
This is the race I've been due.